Next, I call upon Stephy Baby on stage.
Only when the last tree is cut down, the last fish is eaten, and the last river is poisoned, man will know that he cannot eat money. A very warm good evening to one and all present here, respected judges, members of the staff, and the future law gods. The topic that I chosen from the given to in order to discuss with you, which I feel is the most relevant and worthy enough discussing with you is the role of police in environmental protection, whether it should be enforced. Now, the relevance of the topic is primarily based on a natural question mark disaster that happened in Kerala in 2018. Whether the Kerala 2018 flood is a natural or a man-made one is still a question that is being debated in the mainstreams. But we know that, though being the state with complete literacy rate in the country, how we treated the environment and the environmental laws. Illegal mining, large-scale quarrying, encroachment in the floodplains, construction of our houses on the heart of the dry river. These were the prime factors that it triggered the intensity of the flood. We threw the laws in the air. We did not bother about the Thrissur and Gadgil report and entitled it as impractical to implement. And still, if we goes on debating whether the flood was a natural or a man-made one, remember that next time the nature may not leave any way to debate about it again. This is not just a story of Kerala, but the tale of the whole planet, which may not have a happy ending if proper steps are not taken at the right time. It is exactly here that the role of police comes into force. Now, what actually do we mean by a police? I know it's a bit awkward to define a police in front of such a crew, but still, a police or you are the group of people who are constituted by the government in order to protect the life, liberty, and possessions of the citizens. You have to prevent the civil crimes and disorders in the society and has to maintain the law and order. Now, when you are responsible to maintain the law and order of the society, you are equally responsible to protect the environmental law and the nature's order. We know that centuries before, years before, our forefathers had that natural tendency in them to protect the nature. They were religiously, ritualistically, sentimentally, and emotionally attached with it. But after crossing all these centuries, we human beings have developed a utilitarian kind of attitude that has changed the whole planet into a huge shopping market. And as Mahatma Gandhi has rightly pointed out, there is enough resources in the world for everyone's need, but not for anyone's greed. So the need of the hour is to bring down the greed to need, and it's exactly here that the role of environmental police comes into force. Now that we are answering the second part of the topic, whether it should be enforced, exactly, environmental policing should be enforced. At times, the normal police also takes a uniform of environmental police. When and how? When you're checking the pollution certificate of a vehicle, or you put a stop sign to illegal mining, quarrying, deforestation, smuggling of the ozone-depleting substances, hunting of the endangered species, and so on and so forth. But if environmental protection should come into the fullest force into the society, then definitely the police should be given an upper hand in this. How can this be achieved? Drawing inspiration from other nations, we have two options here. The first one is to include environmental policing into the syllabus of the normal police right from the beginning so that you know what to do, when to do, and how to do it. But since this will be a huge responsibility upon the normal police along with their other duties and chores, we have the second option here. That is, to create a separate section of police called eco-police or environmental police who will only exclusively take upon the environmental duties. If any one of this is taken into consideration, what will be the responsibilities of this eco-police? The first one will be definitely to bring into action the environmental laws. Strict punishments should be given to the environmental crimes. If a civil crime happens in a society, it will probably affect 2 people, 3 people, or a maximum group of people. But if an environmental crime happens in a society, it not only affects the state, it not only affects the country, but the impact is for the huge planet as well. So you should take upon the responsibility in order to implement the laws effectively and efficiently and to make the people aware about environment and the environmental laws. Now the second one. Global warming and climate change is actually a hammer that is hanging on every nation's head. India, particularly, has to take environmental issues as a major concern, since it hosts the 4 major polluting cities of the world, that is New Delhi, Kochi, Mumbai, Chennai, etc. India ranks 14th in the Global Climate Risk Index. The rising sea level, due to the increased global warming, due to the contribution of these industries for the large pollutants like that of the nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, is actually making the island sink, and the drainage of the salt water into the drinking water quality is contaminating it. So Ecopolis can actually take upon the responsibility in order to make the pollution level come to the minimal by helping in order to phasing out of the old vehicles, or to have the regular industrial visits and checks. And the third point, there is a growing tendency in the developed nations to export the waste materials that is being generated in that nation to the developing countries like that of India, Myanmar, etc. And we saw how Foreign Ministry of Myanmar was ready to send it back to the origin itself, that is USA. So Ecopolis can do their responsibility, can take upon the responsibility to identify such cases and to report it at the right time at the right authorities so that they can take the actions to curb those practices down. Now the last and fourth one, there are a lot of yojanas and schemes that are impending and just remaining a dream on a paper in the government, like the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and the Ganga Action Plan. If there is a force like Ecopolis to make the message or the crux of these yojanas to reach to the nooks and corners of the country, then it could be a huge success. And I said before, these all are ideas that I got from after reading or researching the Ecopolis materials of the developed nations like that of New Zealand, Australia, New York, China, etc. I hugely suggest that let the Kerala Police Department be the pioneer in order to take the initiative to bring the Ecopolis into the forefront, because Kerala Police Department has always been a source of inspiration for not just the police departments of India, but international level as well. The energy and enthusiasm that you showed during the rescue operations in the flood was highly commended. And if you show the same energy and enthusiasm for environmental protection as well, you can be the flag bearers to paint the nature green again. You can be the flag bearers to save the environment from further degradation and from the future generations from choking to death. Let you do it. This all is what I have to say about the particular topic. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Steffi.